Oh man, Acqua di Profumo. Everyone loves you. You must be like one of the best-selling fragrances ever. They'll never discontinue you. Ever. Hey friends, what's up? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about 10 different designer fragrances that if you've been interested in them, if you've wanted to try them out, you need to do it sooner rather than later. Now, I'm not telling you that these fragrances are absolutely discontinued today, but some of them definitely are. And in today's video, I will also tell you guys why I think a lot of these may be up on the chopping block sooner rather than later, and you can kind of get a view of my process when I start to evaluate, is this fragrance in some serious danger? So let's jump into it. Let's check them out. And as always, guys, I'll have these linked in the description. Feel free to check them out down below. And if you shop at maxaroma.com or twistedlily.com, use the code GENTS10 to get yourself 10% off your order. If you shop at luckyscent.com, the code GENTS2022 is good until the end of March of this year. And that will get you 10% off your order from Lucky Scent as well. So let's dive into this. Discontinuations are a tricky thing to talk about in the fragrance world in general, because typically, 99 times out of 100, a brand will not announce this has been discontinued. It's not made public knowledge. Now, if you have connections like deep into a fragrance company, maybe you find out about it, of course, and maybe you leak it on the internet or something like that. But by and large, it's not made public. So let's talk about some of the things that I look for when I'm trying to determine, has this potentially been discontinued or is it in danger of being discontinued? Now, the first thing is the most obvious thing. Is there a lot of smoke around that fragrance? And by that, I mean a whole bunch of people all thinking at the same time, something's happened here. This doesn't feel right. This fragrance is probably not long for this world. Now, of course, sometimes it's just a lot of commotion for no reason. But oftentimes where there's a lot of smoke, there's at least some fire. It may not be discontinued right away, but the gears could be in motion. So that's one thing I look for, but that's not really the most important thing. The more important things are, is the fragrance making money for the company? Because if the company is making a ton of money from that fragrance, it's pretty safe. But when they start to see a year-over-year decline in how much that fragrance is making, if it's consistently making less and less and less, then yeah, at that point, it starts to get iffy. And to get another thing out of the way very quickly as well, it doesn't matter what the fragrance community says about a fragrance. Like the entire fragrance community, every single person, every reviewer, every blogger, everybody could say this is the most amazing fragrance released in the past 50 years. This is the best stuff ever. If it sells like trash in retail stores and nobody buys it, the fragrance brand is gonna be like, thanks for those reviews, guys. It's discontinued. Money, first and foremost, is what they're after. And another thing that people need to quit being hung up on is how long the fragrance has been out. People will be like, oh, it was only released 3-4 years ago. It can't be discontinued already. Oh yeah. It absolutely can. Brands discontinue stuff all the time that have been out for only like a year or two if they don't meet expectations. That took too long. I'm sorry. Let's jump into it. The first fragrance, Dolce & Gabbana's the one, Eau de Parfum Intense. If you look this one up, it is already not available at retail in the US. That's not a great thing. And also Dolce & Gabbana's the one. They did not have a single fragrance in the top 20 best-selling men's fragrances of the year for 2022 in the US. And so, yeah, that's not great. If it's already removed from retailers, if it's not even sniffing the big boys as far as the sales go, it's probably not long for this world. I think I would pretty comfortably say, if you're interested in it, you better pick it up now before it's gone. And by that, I mean gone from discounters. The price of this one has been creeping up slowly at discounters. It's still okay. You can pick it up for around 50 bucks or so for a 50 ml size bottle, but it was a little bit cheaper than that not that long ago. The fragrance smells great. This one has neroli, it has cardamom, it's got leather, a little bit of resins in there. So it has that warmth and sweetness that you expect from the one fragrance, with a nice little twist, a little pop of freshness there in the opening. Again, very overlooked, a fantastic scent for fall and winter and early spring as well. So when this one is gone, it's gonna be a bummer because it is worth having. After that, YSL Y Eau Fraiche. And this is another one that I think is pretty much already done for. But you can still find this at discounters. Not as easy as before, but it still pops up there. So obviously Y Fresh, this is a fresh version of the Y DNA, the Y fragrance line, and apparently did not hit with quite as much vigor as Yves Saint Laurent was hoping. It's another one where you can pull up the listings for it where it was available at Macy's and stores like that in the US, but when you check it now, it just says that the fragrance is no longer available. This one was basically supposed to go toe-to-toe with Dior Homme Cologne, Chanel Allure Homme Sport, fragrances like that, but just could not quite take off. And I've noticed over the years that fragrances like this, where you do a summertime version of a fragrance that the most popular scent in the line is thought of more of like a sweet scent, you know, a sexy date night kind of fragrance or something like that. A lot of times they have a hard time taking off. So Y Fresh, if you want to check that one out, now's the time. After that, Prada L'Homme Low. Prada L'Homme Low has popped up at discounters here recently, so as of this video, you can still find it. For a while there, it was pretty difficult in the United States to pick up. Once again, a fresher take on the Prada L'Homme DNA. It has that powdery iris, that clean iris that so many people will associate with being a perfect business fragrance or office fragrance. It's very much that style, only with an added watery freshness to it, a bit of an aquatic tinge. Extremely clean, very pleasant. Going to be hard pressed to find many people that don't like the way this smells. But again, going back to sales numbers, Prada, specifically Prada L'Homme, at least in the US, not at this point huge success when you compare it to what it's going up against. And that's why you've seen the shrinking of the Prada L'Homme line and nothing else put out yet since the last flanker, you know, years ago, to really help re-energize that line. So Prada L'Homme Low, I think pretty comfortably another one that you can see the writing on the wall for. Let's follow that up with a Bulgari Man Wood Neroli. Now, I actually am a huge fan of Wood Neroli. I like what this one does. I like the cut of its jib. Those clean, easy to wear Neroli fragrances with their kind of citrus touch, very classy, just like a classic type of scent, really. And Wood Neroli does it very well, especially when you can pick it up from discounters for a pretty good price. Now, I know what I said earlier, that brands are not big fans of discounters necessarily, but I would be a liar if I told you I did not shop at them. I can tell you what they would prefer, but I don't always do that. Yeah, sorry brands. So Wood Neroli, this one has not been out all that long. I mean, a lot of these fragrances, frankly, have not been out all that long. So what's the deal with it? Well, if you take a look at the official advertising for the new Bulgari Man Rain Essence, you will notice that Bulgari Man Wood Neroli is missing. So all of the Essence fragrances, those are there. Terra Essence, Glacial Essence, Wood Essence, Rain Essence, and also Man in Black. That's there, which I think that they're kind of spinning Man in Black as like the essence of fire to an extent. But Man Wood Neroli is not there. And if you search up Bulgari Man Wood Neroli, you can pull it up on the Bulgari website. It pulls up the page, like the advertisement page for Wood Neroli. And then when you click through to actually see the Bulgari Man fragrances so you can purchase one, it's not there. And it's another one that has been scrubbed from retailers. So one of those deals where once again, the writing is on the wall. They're not going to announce it. After that, Boss the Scent Absolute. Now, a favorite of mine, Boss the Scent Private Accord, that stuff is getting to be impossible to find. At least in the US, the scent Private Accord, I think pretty clearly is gone. And the scent Absolute, you can still find that one at discounters, but as far as it being produced still, I'm not so sure. It's another warm, spicy, and sweet take on the scent DNA, with that Meninka fruit being front and center. Has a nice vetiver as the fragrance dries down and a bit of poppy ginger off the top. One thing that I've noticed with Hugo Boss the Scent fragrances is they have a tendency to be under the radar discontinued. So some fragrances, when they're discontinued, a lot of people will be talking about it. They'll be freaking out. But with the scent, it's like they're there and they slowly trickle away. And by the time anybody notices, it's gone. Same thing happened with Paco Rabanne Pure Excess Night. It was there, and then slowly, where'd it go? Oh, there it is on eBay for $250. Let's keep it moving with this one, Acqua di Gio Profumo. Now, I've talked about Profumo before. I talked about Profumo last year about how I thought it was probably going to be discontinued in the not too distant future. So to an extent, it's almost like the boy who cried wolf here. It's like, oh, Profumo, Profumo, Profumo. But once again, you check Armani's website, Profumo not available. They still have the listing for it. Again, I'm talking the US website, but you go on there, everything is out of stock, every bottle size out of stock. You look at the top 20 best-selling fragrances of 2022, Profondo is on there, Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum is on there, Acqua di Gio Eau de Toilette is on there. Profumo, nowhere to be found. And with Giorgio Armani taking the Armani code line and shuffling it up and getting rid of a lot of those flankers and changing the bottle style and all the stuff they're doing with that, wouldn't surprise me if they take a look at Acqua di Gio Profumo and go ahead and pull the plug. And frankly, it could be for any of the Acqua di Gios at this point. I have no clue what they're planning, but it's not a good thing if you are a flanker in a line that big and you're just not raking in the money. Let's go to another Prada, Luna Rossa Black. Love Luna Rossa Black, I love it. Creamy, it's warm, it's sweet, mysterious, sexy, very unique smelling against the current market of designer fragrances. I think this stuff is awesome, but it is a little bit of an acquired taste. It's not the kind of fragrance that, you know, your average person, your average guy is gonna go into Ulta or Sephora or Macy's and spray and go, oh yeah, I'll take that. Now, of course, a lot of people will, but it doesn't have that kind of, you know, Sauvage opening or Bleu de Chanel or Y Eau de Parfum or whatever. So that's what I mean to say. It's a little bit different. And again, Prada, they are keen on shaking things up. They've shown that in the past. They are not afraid to discontinue things. That one you can still find, so it's safe right now. I'm just saying it worries me, and it wouldn't surprise me if, you know, a year or two from now, things are a little bit different. After that, Ferragamo Uomo, and frankly, the whole Uomo line from Ferragamo. And this is another one that I've talked about in the past. So Ferragamo has, at least up until now, apparently discontinued, or maybe not discontinued, they have stopped working on the Uomo line. Instead, they're working on that Ferragamo leather line, which we've seen bright leather, spicy leather, intense. We've seen all those come out, but no new Uomos. And this is another one of those things where you have to ask yourself, did Ferragamo give it a try and they released a number of different flankers trying to approach different markets? You know, the original Uomo, this kind of coffee sweet fragrance, and then Signature, like a ramped up version of that. But then they did Casual Life, where they're trying to come out with something that's a little lighter, a little better for like springtime. And then they do Urban Feel, where they're trying to come out with kind of a blue take on that DNA, and nothing really hit. And so then they went, ugh, nah, just not working, and moved on. So that's my worry for that line. The prices have gone up a bit at discounters. They used to be very cheap, and now they are not quite as cheap. Still okay, still worth it, but the Uomo line, another one where it would not surprise me if, you know, a few years from now, we're talking about it in a completely different way, talking about it as like, you should have got it when you could get it cheap. Then we have Invictus Aqua. This is Invictus Aqua 2018, originally released in 2016. And then when they discontinued it after 2016, people freaked out. And that's when we got this one. So this is one that I had not paid too much attention to, you know, the availability of it, I should say. And then when I started poking around, ooh, not good. Invictus Aqua, where are you at? It's so weird how fast things move in the fragrance world, because back in 2016, when the first Invictus Aqua came out, man, I was getting so much hype, so much love, everybody talking about it. Invictus Aqua, Invictus Aqua. Then they came out with this one, the re-release. It was a little bit different, and people didn't take to it quite as much, but still yet, if you went back in time 5 years ago, less than 5 years ago even, and you said, hey, Invictus Aqua is gonna be completely gone, not available at any stores or anything in just a few years, people would be like, okay. Sure. Now, if you want Invictus Aqua, but you don't want to pony up for a bottle of the stuff, you could get something like Hawass by Rossi, and that's going to get you pretty close for less. And then I think there's also an Armaf Odyssey Homme White that is similar to Invictus Aqua as well. Last one, Versace Oud Noir. Love Oud Noir. But I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that Oud Noir is making Versace all kinds of money. Now, this one you can still find at discounters pretty easy. So no need to panic, no need to freak out. And in the UK, you can find it at Harrods at retail. So it's pretty safe, especially compared to a lot of the ones here. But I would be lying to you if I told you that I think that Versace is just gonna keep on making Oud Noir for the next 5 years. You know, the stuff came out like 10 years ago. It was always kind of a niche designer fragrance, because any of these slightly more high-end oud-based fragrances for men, you know, they have a smaller subsect of the fragrance buying public that they're going after. So from the beginning, you know, it's already kind of a smaller group. But yeah, I would be lying if I told you that the fragrance that's been out for a decade, that's not really making them too much money, is gonna be here forever and ever. You can look at things like YSL's M7 and then the re-release M7 Oud Absolute, or a number of other oud fragrances from different designer houses that were out for different levels of time and eventually just ran their course and then were slowly phased out. And that's what I think will happen with Oud Noir. It's not going to be anything crazy. It'll just slowly fade into the sunset. But I love the stuff, and I think that if you want to pick it up for a reasonable price, I would do it sometime within the next, year or two. Again, I don't think it's anything you need to freak out about, but be aware of it. So there we go, 10 fragrances that I think that you should try sooner rather than later if you've been interested in them. Some of these will be gone sooner than others, and some of them will be much more difficult to find than others. But that's how it goes with discontinuations. I've been watching fragrances come and go for over a decade at this point, like actually paying attention to them and watching them. When I was younger, it was just like, what's at the stores? Where's that one that I liked? I don't know, I'll get that one. But yeah, actually paying attention to it and watching the whole life cycle, and then getting some more behind the scenes info on just like, this is making this much, this is making that much, and you can start to see where these brands will think to themselves, we need to switch something up, because it is actually common knowledge with the brands themselves on what is making how much. Like, they know what the competitors are doing and they want a piece of that pie. And if what they have out right now is not getting them that piece of pie, they'll change it up to make sure that they do something that gets them the pie. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you later.